Hello, this is Connie Belden, and in this video we're going to put together everything that we've learned about cost classification. We are first of all going to identify each individual item as variable or fixed. Variable means that it's variable depending on how many items you produce or sell. In other words, it's a cost per unit. Fixed is a set amount no matter how many units you produced. If it's a selling expense, if it's administrative expense, or if it's a product cost. And if it's a product cost, we're going to identify it as direct, which in general terms, a direct cost would be your direct materials or direct labor, or indirect, which would be your manufacturing overhead cost. So let's go through each of our items here. Property taxes on the factory are usually a set amount each year, so therefore they would be fixed. It does say it's on the factory, so it would be part of manufacturing overhead, which means it would be a product cost and indirect product cost. Next, boxes used for packaging the detergent. Well, it depends on how much detergent that you sell, how much you're going to have in packaging, so that would be variable. And the packaging would be an important part of getting it and shipping it. You can measure how much packaging you need for each individual shipment that you make. So therefore, that would be a direct material. So I will put an X here and note that it's direct materials. Okay, sales commissions. Commissions is based on what they sell. So the more they sell, the more they make. It's not a fixed amount. So therefore, I will say variable. And that would be a selling expense. So I will put a X in the selling cost column. Now, the supervisor in the factory, that does say salary, so we're assuming that salary is a fixed set amount, so I will put fixed. That is in the factory, so that is considered indirect labor, which would be part of manufacturing overhead. I'm just going to mark to the side, just for your notes, that that would be indirect labor. Next, depreciation on the executive's autos. Okay, depreciation is a set amount, so fixed. It does say on the executives, so that would be an administrative expense. Okay. Next, number 6, wages of workers that are actually assembling the computer. Wages, we're assume that's an hourly wage. So the more computers they put together, the more hours they work. That would be variable. Okay. And that would be considered direct labor. So I will put a X in the direct column under product cost and note that that is direct labor. Number 7, insurance on our finished goods warehouse. Insurance is usually a fixed amount each year, so I will put fixed. Since it is on our finished goods, once they're finished, we're basically turning them over to our selling department to sell. So therefore, it is considered a selling expense. Okay. Next, number 8, lubricants for our production equipment. Well, it depends on how much we produce and use them, how much lubricant they will need. So we will say variable, and that would be part of manufacturing overhead. So I will put an X in the indirect cost, manufacturing overhead. Advertising, yes, it could be variable, but usually most companies set a fixed advertising budget. So I will put fixed, and that would be a selling expense. So I put it in the selling column. Microchips used in producing calculators. Well, that's going to be a component of our calculators. So that would be variable depending on how many calculators we produce. And I know you can't see my headings as I'm scrolling up, but that would be under direct because it is a direct material. Okay, number 11, shipping cost on merchandise sold would be variable because, again, it depends on how many you sell. And since that is a shipping cost, we will relate that as a selling expense. Number 12, magazine subscriptions for the factory lunchroom. So usually you pay a set amount a year for magazine subscriptions. So we're going to put fixed. Now, since it is for the factory lunchroom, it's going to be factory related. And so we will put it as part of manufacturing overhead, put it in the indirect cost column. Okay, next, thread in a garment. And again, that's for the factory. Okay, so that's going to be variable. It depends on how much thread you need, depending on how many products you make. And we are going to put that as a manufacturing overhead cost because more specifically, that would be an indirect material. Okay, the reason why is it's a material that is hard to measure how much is going into each garment. Executive life insurance, it's usually a fixed amount for the year, and executives would mean administrative. Ink used in textbook production would be variable because it depends on how many textbooks you produce. Now, ink again is one of those that's hard to measure, so we will put it under indirect cost, manufacturing overhead, because that would be also an indirect material. Okay, next, number 16, fringe benefits, material handling workers. Okay, that's going to be variable because their fringe benefits is probably based on their hours that they work. Maybe so much percentage is put away towards a retirement plan or health insurance, etc. So we'll put variable. And since it's for the material handling, we are going to assume they were in the factory. So we will put manufacturing overhead on that. They're not direct labor, they are indirect labor. So that is why I put it to manufacturing overhead, because they're not actually working on the product. They're just handling the materials that's shipped in. Yarn used to make a sweater, okay, that would be variable. Okay, and that yarn, I would consider it a direct material, so I will put it in the direct column and mark it as direct material. And our last one says wages of a receptionist. Notice it says wages. So that's usually an hourly wage based on how much he or she works. And since it says the executive offices, we will consider that an administrative expense. Thank you very much.